Hey, what's up? Liron here, and in this video I'm going to share with you 4 tips for drawing and sketching people and anatomy. I'm going to show you some of my work process and share these with you. I hope you're going to enjoy this one. Let's get started. As a quick note, I want to share with you that I usually start these anatomy sessions with a warm-up, and this is what you see me doing here. A bunch of circles, a bunch of lines, just to warm up the wrist and the shoulder and get the lines I want. So I'm going to share with you this study session I did for heads, drawing them in three-dimensional shape, and just understanding how to portray them in different angles in a way that's convincing and three-dimensional looking. And with that, let's jump into the tips. So the first one I want to give you is focusing on volume, three-dimensionality, and perspective. One of the first things you want to understand is all of these. How do I draw a shape in a way that is three-dimensional feeling, that is convincing, that you can understand what you're looking at? And this entails mainly drawing simple shapes such as cubes, cylinders, and all sorts of different stuff like that, balls in three-dimensional shape from different angles. I think the minimum you want to be able to achieve is the ability to draw a cube from any angle from imagination, and you do realize and understand how to do that after some practice. Okay, take a real cube, do whatever it takes, and you will get it. You want to take into consideration perspective, meaning things that are farther from you appear to be smaller. You want to think about that always when you draw these kinds of shapes. If you look at a cylinder, it's going to taper away from you and appear to be smaller. That's something that always leads my thought when I do these exercises, whether I'm drawing something as simple as a cube or a face, a head, a torso. You always want to think about where in what direction every element of it is pointed. And that's the first tip I want to give you. Now, for each of these, you will have to do some more research and find out how to learn that skill, but I just want to provide you with the skill. Now, tip number 2 is knowledge. And what do I mean by that? Sometimes you actually have to learn and study things in order to understand them. So, if we're talking about drawing a cube, you actually want to grab a real cube, whether it's a Rubik's Cube or just a normal one, and you want to look at its different sides and its different corners and understand the relations between them. You can't just make things up. And sometimes, even when you have a reference to work from, it isn't enough, because understanding how your reference is built is the key to being able to draw it accurately. So, for example, if you're looking at a face, understanding the common shape of faces and how to build it in space is very important. And you see me in this exercise creating a ball first, then cutting off its side. And there's a technique to that. You need to understand where it's facing, towards us, towards the sides, to the back, to the side, slightly to the side. You cut out the side, then you put a line down the middle that runs from the eyebrow to the ear. And then from that, you drop down a line from the bottom of the so-called ball. And then you duplicate that. You learn the basic proportions and structure of the thing you're drawing. You can get by just by drawing from observation. You'll do well, but if you really want to make it to the next level and also be able to invent, you have to learn get the knowledge itself. When we're talking about anatomy, knowing, for example, how the muscles are built under the skin will really help you understand what you see and therefore better represent it, more accurately represent it, exaggerate it if you want to, change things around by understanding these things. So if you know how the pec muscles look and how the deltoid muscles look, and you understand their interaction, you can change things in a believable manner. So that's the second tip, anatomical knowledge. The third tip, and this is very straightforward, is repetition. Okay? You have to repeat. Just look at this video as an example. I'm repeating the same exercise again and again and again with different references. I'm getting a photo of a head. I'm simplifying it using the Loomis method in this example, and if you Google it, you'll find it. Loomis method, I figure out, okay, there's a circle or a ball rather, then I cut off the side and so on and so forth. I do it many times at different angles, and I'm really pushing the repetition here, okay? It is really one of the most important things, and it's
pretty crazy just how much repetition is involved in improving, because we often see someone drawing extraordinarily, and it's whether from observation or from the reference. What we don't see is all the sessions they sat down alone in front of their desk and drew that same thing over and over and over and over again. And you have to be able to do that. There is no magic trick to this tip. It's also, I think, the best, because you don't have to be smart to do it. You just have to do it again and again and again. And I feel very good about this, especially for someone like me. If you're like me, in a way that, for me, very often it's very hard to get a grasp on new subjects. It's not easy for me to learn a new topic, even not even drawing or art related. Like even back in school when I used to when I studied physics, computers, I had a very hard time understanding the concept. It took me a longer time than other people to understand it, and I could see it and I could feel it. But I was not afraid to repeat, to learn again and again and again, and do another exercise and another exercise until I get it. And that's the most important part, getting it. It's fine if it takes time. You will eventually get it. But there is no replacement, absolutely no replacement to repetition. And number 4, invention. Okay, that's tip number 4 for you, invention, and I would say modification. So what does this mean? Once you have some experience with drawing things from observation. So let's say you learned what a face looks like, what the head looks like, in all sorts of different angles. You understand how to look at a head and be able to draw it. The next step is to challenge your imagination. And that means you look at a picture and you look at the head, or in this example, and you try to visualize what would it look like if I turn it just a little bit to the left, or what would it look like if I would look at it from slightly below or slightly above. And then what you do is you actually draw it that way. You look at the reference and you think to yourself, okay, so this line will move here, this line would move there. Now, the key here is to understand that you won't get an accurate result. You'll kind of guesstimate and figure out where things are. You'll get whatever result you get, and then you go back, you look at a head in that angle that you tried drawing, and you see what your mistakes are. Oh, I didn't realize that the tip of the nose is really far from its connection to the head, to the face itself, and so it should move more down if I look at it from this angle, or more up if I look at it from below. These things are really important, okay? You have to be able to practice invention. After a while, and it goes back all the way to the first tip I gave you about volume and perspective and three-dimensionality. It's the same as practicing drawing a cube from imagination. It doesn't have to be a complex subject. As long as you invent and you try by yourself to see it differently than what it actually is, you invent it, you modify it, you bring to it something that you want to change in it. That's a great way of exercising, okay? And these are my 4 tips for learning anatomy, drawing people in an accurate manner, and these can, be applied to any subject, and not just people, not just anatomy. So let me reiterate. 1, volume, three-dimensionality, and perspective. 2, anatomical knowledge, meaning the actual knowledge that will help you understand what you're looking at and therefore draw and sketch and paint it better. Number 3 is repetition. Number 4 is invention and modification. I hope you find these helpful. Now let's wrap it up.
So thank you so much for watching once again. I hope you enjoyed seeing me working on these, and hopefully this brought the point home and really showed just how much it's important to keep doing it, being consistent, creating every day, and doing that repetition and invention. I think these are some of the most important things. Once you get the perspective down and the sense of three-dimensionality and the basics of holding the pencil and all of that, it's all about that. There is no magic to it. It's just that, and anyone who you see that is really, really good at what they do, that's how they got there. So thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed this one. Once again, if you enjoyed it, leave a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe if you still aren't. All of these things really help. Share this video with anyone you think will find it useful. It really helps me get to more people. I will see you again in the next one real soon.